Have you ever heard of AJ Media? I see him on Facebook a lot. His name is Aaron Jarnigan. I've never met him. I'm going to meet him here in about 5 minutes. In fact, I think I hear him at the door. It's going to be a great discussion. A's, right?
2 A's, yes, sir. Most common spelling as far as I know, but there's A-R-R-O-N, A-A-R-R-O-N, you know. I like to mix it up.
You look familiar to me.
Well,
And I don't think we've ever met, have we?
I don't think so, no. But I've known about the podcast for a while. At some point, it popped up in a feed somewhere
Probably,
or something,
yeah.
and I'd seen it. And then, of course, that piece of property that's right there on Georgetown next to the school.
Yeah.
I recognized that it had the Dee Burris name on
Yeah.
it. And I said, well, I wonder if that's probably the same Dee Burris.
Yeah.
But,
I'm going to level it up and hope to sell it.
yeah. So you don't have any development plans for it or anything?
Nothing.
Well, people want to know, you know.
I know it. I think Jack's was interested at one time and maybe a Dunkin' Donuts, but nothing, nothing specific. I got a partner on that, Clark Taylor, and I just let him do the thinking.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, you know, Dunkin' Donuts had put that sign up on Georgetown Road right beside where they built that new Weigels. And that sign, the banner was out right by the road for
That's right, it was,
for probably
wasn't
a month or something. And then one day, mysteriously, I noticed it was gone, and I hadn't heard anything of it since. So I kind of wondered if Dunkin' realized they were trying to build right on top of that Weigels, and so that's probably not a good idea because human beings are creatures of creatures of convenience. I said, so if you can stop at one place in the morning, get your gas, get your coffee, and get a bite to eat, that's what you're going to do.
Whenever you read a story in the newspaper or see something on television about somebody getting arrested, you naturally assume they're guilty. Unless the story's about you or someone you love, then you'll think differently. And you'll want a lawyer who will defend you. My name's Scott Canavis. If you or someone you love has been charged with a crime, call me. I'll return your phone calls, I'll work on your case, and I will defend you.
You're familiar with that area pretty good?
Yeah, I live out by Eureka Road.
Do you ever eat at Green Acres?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love small business.
Me too. I do.
I'm a small businessman. And there's tons of small businesses here and around Cleveland, so I think supporting the small ones is important. You know, I like to say that if Starbucks quit advertising today, they'd still sell $10 billion tomorrow, but the small business don't have it like that.
They don't have it.
Yeah.
What do you get at Green Acres?
Ooh, what's the last thing I got over there was one of their specials. It was red beans and rice. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. It was really good.
It is good food. Don't walk through the kitchen.
Yeah, it's comfort food.
It is comfort food.
Yeah.
They usually make me a bologna sandwich.
Yeah. Just a simple man.
Just a simple man. I just like just a bologna sandwich with lots of mustard.
Sure.
They got, it's a real neat thing to do, isn't it, go in there?
Yeah.
It's like I don't know, it's like a little mini break or something. You know, just to stop in there and...
A break.
Just to take a break and sometimes I just go in there and drink a water.
Yeah.
And just walk around for a few minutes.
Well, you know what's cool about small businesses like Green Acres is we're also conditioned to going in these big places like Speedway or going into Weigels or going into Publix. All these places got all the fancy decoration. There's tile all over the wall and stuff. Going in Green Acres feels like you're going in somewhere you were going in when you were a kid.
It does.
You know? And that's part of the charm, right?
Hey, have you ever been, speaking of small places like that, have you ever been on McDonald Road at that self-serve vegetable stand?
Self-serve vegetable stand on McDonald Road? I don't think so.
It's on South McDonald Road before you get to the last road in Bradley County. I can't remember the name of it. It might be Parks Road or something. It's on the right, and you walk into this room, maybe 3 times as big as this, and you just get what you want, and you put the money in a jar.
No kidding. There's nobody there?
Nobody there.
Yeah.
You get eggs, lettuce, tomatoes, honey.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a real small version of the Amish.
Sure.
And it's just got a jar on the front porch.
There's probably not many places that exist like that
Probably
anymore,
not. But it's really a neat place to go. Small businesses have a hard time staying in business a long time because of, I guess, regulations. What you're doing is, and my introduction to you is I've just seen your post
Yeah.
and flying drones, and
Yeah.
it's really neat. I mean, you've got a really good thing going.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy what I'm doing. I've had a camera in my hand since probably 2013, 14 as a casual kind of hobby on the side. But around 2019, I got my Class A CDL. Everything prior to that was customer service job, photography on the side. So 2019, I got my CDL, said I'm going to go make some real money. I'm going to do that. But
What's CDL?
commercial driver's license.
Okay.
So I drove big trucks, a dump truck, a little bit of everything. And after 3 or 4 years of that, I said, you know, I'm really tired of sitting in a truck all day for 10, 12, sometimes 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
And so I said, I'm gonna put this to the side, worried about my back health and stuff, sitting on my spine all day. And I'm just going to kind of push into photo video as best as I can. I mean, it's been a very slow burning process. But 2023, you know, I've always kind of had an interest in RC stuff. So 2023, I got a drone, I had a drone since before then, but I decided to get the drone license because in order to fly commercially, you have to get that license if you want to be a law-abiding citizen. So May 31st on my birthday, I took the test and got that license, and I had the drone laying around. I said, well, what am I going to do with it? You know, I'm not necessarily generating a ton of leads or anything with it. So I said, I think I'm going to start taking photos of stuff going around the city, and that'd be good publicity for my page. It's developed into something that, you know, I've taken an interest in following the stuff now versus just for the namesake of publicity.
You're very good at it.
Well, I appreciate it.
I mean, you're very good. You get a good picture, and so you must have sort of a knack for that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like to run around and toot my horn or anything like that. I'm pretty humble. But, you know, you shoot photos for 10 or 15 years. I would hope one person would get at least a little bit better at it, right?
Well, you seem to be good at flying it. That would have to be a hard thing to do.
Well, there's two different styles of drone that really kind of dominate the market these days. You've got drones like the one I use for all the photos and stuff is GPS locked off satellite. So I could fly it up 150 feet and fly it out 500 feet and let go of the controller, and it'll just hover there on its own till the battery runs dead. You know, or not till the battery runs dead. They've even got safety features built in, so it gets 5 minutes from being dead, it'll actually come back on its own to where it left from. But then the other side of drones is FPV, which is first-person view. And it's the one you don't see a whole lot of, but you wear goggles while you fly it, and you see bird's eye what the drone sees. So I've practiced quite a bit with that, but I don't fly it for doing photos and stuff because it's very much so like a sports car. You just really don't need it for doing the photos and videos.
So the ones that you fly over these sites, you're looking at it on the camera as you're flying?
Yeah. The screen, I mean, I actually have it in the car. I could have brought it in with me, but the screen on the controller is about the size of a small tablet. And so you're watching the screen. And I mean, I've crashed them a couple times, you know.
Have you hit power lines?
No.
What happens if you do?
I couldn't tell you. I would imagine it'd just fry the drone and the drone would fly.
I'd say that's rule number one, not to do.
Well, you know, the couple mistakes that I made, I actually crashed the one I had prior to the one I had now in Johnston Park down here. Flying down there when they were doing construction on that park. And then the first one I crashed, I was watching it fly by at about 80 miles an hour instead of watching where the drone was going on the controller, and it ran smack dab into a tree. And surprisingly survived it. But when this one hit down here in Johnston Park, it did not survive it. I had taken it up 80 feet or so, thought I was clear of the trees that were down there, and I was sending it out, bright sunny day, glare on the screen. I was trying to move to the shade so I could see better, and I had it moving out while I was moving to the tree, and I heard the branch crack, and I said, oh no. There it went down. But after that, you know, I was like, okay, I've crashed twice now. What lessons can we learn from this event? So I started doing research on common heights of objects and trees that exist in the environment.
Oh, so there's such a thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, like a telephone pole is going to stand around 70 feet, 80 feet or so. A tree might go up to 100 feet. So I know on average, if I get up to 125 or 150, I'm clear of most of everything with the exception of like cell towers, which fortunately those aren't all over the place.
What if you're standing in a valley and you're shooting something on a hill and got a 125-foot tree on it or a 100-foot tree on it? I mean, does it tell you how high it is from the ground under it or from where you're
From
at?
the controller location.
So you about got to know how high the hill is.
Yeah. Which, I mean, you know, with the sensors and stuff that are on the cameras, you get a pretty good perspective of what you're looking at when you're looking. So you just, through experience, like anything else, you learn where you can and can't fly.
How far can you fly your drone out and still be in one spot?
Further than you should allow to be.
Half a mile?
Further.
Mile?
Depending on terrain. If I were to go out Highway 60 out to the boat dock and fly over the water, I could probably fly 2 miles, 2.5 miles.
And get a good view and everything?
Get a good view, good signal. But if you go out, you know, say, which you can't fly in the national forest without permits, but if you were to try to go out there and fly in that mountainous terrain, the signal does not translate as well because you've got too many things blocking.
Now, why wouldn't you be able to fly over a national forest? I guess you could cause a fire, maybe.
You got a lithium battery in your drone.
Lithium battery.
If it crashes and hits the ground, sparks a fire. And you think if you hit out in the middle of a cliffside somewhere, how long is it going to take them to get down there if they're even lucky to be able to get down there? That's what I don't mean to cut you off.
Sure.
That's what getting the license really teaches you is the safety and respect of what you're up against when you're flying. Because the drones, we're limited as pilots to 400 feet above ground. That's it, or wherever you're standing. If I'm up on a mountaintop, I'm 400 feet there. Because the planes have to adjust up too, just like the drone does.
How low could some planes fly?
I mean, they're at their lowest point around the airports. But
I guess so.
Yeah. So like showing up at Chattanooga Airport and trying to fly is a big red flag.
Yeah.
I mean, they actually won't even let you take off.
You look suspicious.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the risk factor, you know. If you send a drone through a plane engine, what kind of circumstances you think you're dealing with there?
If you're up 300 feet, could you get a pretty good, you can zoom in from where you're at?
Not with the drone I have. There are some drones that are out now that are probably 2 or 3 times the price of the one I own that does have a zoom lens, but there's trade-off factors with every one of them. The one that I have will take a image at about 5.4K. So, I mean, it's for internet purpose. It's big enough to use across the web, no questions asked. And you could punch in a little bit, but realistically, when you're shooting these big aerials, you get this great view, but you don't get all the detail you would get if you were close up to an object.
Yeah. So you want to be 100 to 125 feet above what you're shooting?
Yeah.
Just because you're just trying to...
It's really determined by what you're shooting. You know, you're shooting a big piece of property, you might have to go up to 300 feet and back out 1,000 feet to be able to get it in frame. But something like that piece of land that's over there on Georgetown next to the school, you know, I think I was 125 feet up and maybe 75 feet back from it, and I was able to get the full width of it. Mm-hmm. So it varies.
You've got to have sort of a knack for that. I couldn't do that.
You don't think so? Well, I think people ask me all the time when I'm flying, or maybe not all the time, but every now and then I'll get a question, is that thing hard to fly or how is it? I'm like, they make it really hard to crash it. It's got sensors on it that'll beep if you get close to an object and stuff. They're not perfect, but, you know, they try to make them as dummy-proof as possible. But now that FPV drone I have, it is no baby assist. When you take it up, if you cut throttle, it's like an airplane. It'll fall out of the sky. So you're in full control of it at all times. And it's such a vicious experience that when I fly it, I have to lean up against something. Or I'll find myself digging my feet into the ground, trying to just keep balanced because it can be so disorienting. Some people actually cannot fly them. It's just too much for their senses.
I think that's where I'd be.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'd be, because I want to control with my hands.
Yeah.
And doing that wouldn't be, I think you have to be a special person to be able to drive those and be productive at it.
Yeah.
How's it stay in the air with all the wind?
That GPS. Just it controls its balance and controls its position lock within the atmosphere.
How does it do that?
Just it's electronics inside of the body. It's motor controller. You know, it can sense the variation in the speed of each prop and adjust
So
to
it'll
compensate.
just. Boy, that's bizarre.
It's fascinating.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
God, I guess that's what they're flying in Ukraine and stuff, right? The drones. They just got ammunition on them.
I imagine, yeah, they're flying a variation of things. You know, their drones are the size of this room.
Oh, so it's not like the size of this thing, or
No, my drone, if it was squared, it's probably 16 inches by 16 inches or something with the props. But the actual body of itself is probably not much bigger than one of those.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen them where they have on bicycles where they'll follow the person, but you know, like they'll have the person put it up there and it'll follow them on the bicycle.
Yeah.
But it says, I saw where it said only like 20 minutes of flight time.
Depends on the size of the drone.
I think the
bigger drones don't usually have as great a battery life because there's more mass they're trying to hold up.
Yeah, I think this was hover something.
Hover? Oh, I would think mine would hover because it's just at an idle rate for probably close to 40 minutes. But if you're flying, it's just like a race car, you know. If you're under full throttle the whole time you're in it, you're going to run your gas out a whole lot sooner.
But 40 minutes wouldn't be a long bike ride, so that would be...
Yeah. And as far as I know, of course, I've never used it for the tracking purposes, even though it's got it built in. As far as I know, that's really not perfect. But they don't do a very good job of the tracking.
Mitchell Kender, that's who you remind me of. You know Mitchell?
I don't.
Well, that's who it is. Just dawned on me.
Look like them, sound like them,
No, just
smell like them?
everything. You look just like, just act and talk like him.
Yeah.
I thought your voice sounds like his too.
Is that a good
That's
thing?
what it is.
It's a good thing.
Sure. Oh, Mitch was great. So, what do you do? Like one a week or every weekend or what?
What's that?
Do this drones for people?
As frequently as possible, you know. I mean, I've had weeks. It's been, like I said, it's been a very slow burning process, you know. What you realize when you're a very small entrepreneur, I'm sole proprietor. You know, I don't have a big agency, a big office. I don't pull up in a Cybertruck or anything like that. I'm just a little guy with an old Honda, and I run around. I use several different services to look for leads, and then as of lately, I'm just trying to bury myself in this community more, that more people know about me. You know, marketing is like a wet blanket. You want full saturation from corner to corner, and my blanket's not been very wet. So,
how much do you charge for that? Just whatever you can get.
No, it can vary. It's really hard to price certain small jobs because some people will just say, hey, you know, I got a pressure washing lead and I need you to run over here and grab a couple photos of the roof. It'd be $50 or $60, but realistically, what I try to do is find the customers who could use me for 3 to 8 hours, and then I'll book it for either a half day or a whole day. So, you know, if you need me for a half day, it'd be $300 plus editing. Or if you need me for a whole day, it'd be $450 plus editing. If you need me to edit. Some customers just need the clips turned into them and they've got an editor that they work with on the side. So it really just varies.
So you'll film, you'll be just there on site and say, what do you want me to do? You're available for 8 hours.
Yeah.
You'll do whatever they want. And then you say, do you want me to edit it down for you? Or do you like it the way it is?
Right. Yeah, pretty much.
What kind of editing machine do you use or program?
I mean, there's a lot of different options that you can use out there. I mean, I used Premiere Pro, Adobe's program, for a long time. And then Adobe just started making a stink in the world out here with their subscription practices and the way they're changing policies, and they want to own your content if you upload it to their cloud. And they get rights to use it for their promotional purposes, and that stepped on a lot of toes. So I said, I'm backing out. So now I'm using DaVinci Resolve, which is owned by a company called Blackmagic. They make cameras and they make the software, and they also have their own codec for video. So, did that go over your head?
No, because I tried the Adobe Pro for a while, and you're right. They would say they would constantly change it, and you can do this if you upgrade. You can do that if you can't do this unless you're upgraded.
Yeah. There's benefits to subscription-based software, at least in the sense there used to be, because you would always get the free updates.
Yeah.
Whereas if you bought version 11, you had to wait until version 12 come out and then buy it all over again. the subscription model kind of lets you move away from that. But the cool thing about DaVinci Resolve, at least as of now in their company practices, is you pay $300 for the software and you get lifetime updates.
You know, somebody could make a living just editing, couldn't they?
Absolutely.
I mean,
Not
because
somebody. There's thousands of people out there doing it.
they could just sit at home and do the editing, have all of the subscriptions to whatever worked
Yeah.
best for that particular thing, and
Absolutely.
maybe work with the customer and say, I'll send it to you this way. You don't like it, I'll adjust it. Because if you go out and do that for 8 hours, you may end up editing it 3 or 4 different ways to what they like.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, video creation is multi-part. You know, you've got the guy who comes and sets up the camera, sets up the lighting, gets the look right, films you, gets your dialogue. Then he's got to go home, or she's got to go home and dump all the footage, organize it, structure it, figure out if they're going to edit it.
Don't lose it.
Don't lose it. And figure out if they're going to edit it or if they're going to give it to someone else to edit it. And then you work with your client and you deliver this, and they say, well, I don't like what I said at that first minute mark, or I need it to look this way. So, I mean, a video process, from shoot to edit to delivery, I think it's more complex than a lot of people think it is.
You know, you should have a thing that says, you don't even know if, you don't say anything on there like, I'm for hire. You're just shooting the video.
What, on the Facebook page?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to think that people would understand that I'm for hire, right?
I don't know. I didn't know that for a while.
No?
Because AJ Media sounds like it's that sounds like an expensive, hard to reach marketing group that's.
Do you think so?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Well, I'm just a one-man band. I put my pants on the same way that you do, you know? But I definitely think there's a gap there where video service is a lot more complex than what people think it is, because people have gotten so conditioned to have a cell phone in their pocket, and they go, you just pull it out and press record. Because there's a difference between just pulling it out and pressing record versus crafting a tailored look. Or we come in here and, set lights up on stands and say, I need to brighten this up a little bit more. I need to put some more shadow on his face over here to create that look,
Yeah, it's like here, I like to have a light spot behind the person. But it's hard to do, and sometimes it just won't work that way.
Yeah.
And I don't want to spend an hour trying to figure it out, but
Sure. Yeah, that's really what, as far as like a director of photography is all about, is they come in and they craft the way an image looks, because you show up in an environment that you've never been to before, and you assess what that environment is. It's got these big 12-foot windows over here, but it's not lit very well over here because the lighting's old and out of date. So we're working in an environment that's really bright here and really dark here. And you say, well, I need to position my subject in such a way to where I'm getting the light on his face or her face from this side, and that it's not too bright, but because we don't have any light over here, it's too dark. So we'll set up this big bounce and bounce some of this light back over here to fill in the shadows. That's where the complexity in video is. And
could you do weddings? I guess you could, couldn't you?
I absolutely could. It's just not really ever been a market that I wanted to tap into, because for wedding, I give wedding photographers and videographers their flowers, because the whole time they're shooting a wedding, it's like a triathlon. You don't stop moving. You don't sit down. You usually don't eat lunch or anything. You've got to be right there in the midst of the business the entire time.
But you could just be there hovering over and taking pictures and
Sure.
come down low as they're saying I do. And
Yeah. It had to be outside. I don't know about flying indoor with a drone like I got. Of course, there's different drones for that too. Mine's open prop, but there's closed prop drones. But yeah, the video market for the folks that are in it's super lucrative. Super.
Well, you seem to have a foothold into it right now.
I can't tell you, like I said, I've had a camera in my hand since 2012 or 13, 14, somewhere in that time. And I've always had one since then. And I can't tell you how much,
So before then, you didn't really fool with cameras?
No, I'm only 33, I graduated high school in 2010, so 2012, I'm still very much so a young man. I'm still a young man. I'm graying ahead of all my friends, but, we take it as it comes.
Well, I keep forgetting that 2014 it doesn't seem long to me, but to you it's probably been a long while.
It feels like it. I mean, graduating 2010, and here it is 2025.
Were you from Carnes?
Well, I grew up off of Clinton Highway in Knoxville. I went to West High School my freshman and sophomore year, and I graduated from Carnes. I went there my junior and senior year.
I used to go to church camp in Carnes.
Yeah?
Hillbrook.
I don't recognize the name. The church that comes to mind in Carnes is that big one that's right across the street from the McDonald's. Big church.
I just went to the church camp there.
Yeah?
In Carnes. That's all I know about Carnes.
It's a good area.
Yeah. And then I went down going to Knoxville, get off the interstate, and I had to meet a guy at a convenience store there one time, right off the exit. And then there's a business there, I think, they sell builder's hardware stuff, real oddities.
Builder's hardware
and
stuff.
I think you get off on Carnes Highway or something.
Well, let me think about this now. I haven't lived there since 2017. There's not a direct exit off the interstate to get to Carnes. Like, you don't just get off the ramp and you're in Carnes. You'd either have to come from Pillissippi Parkway and come back around through Oak Ridge to get into Carnes.
I think that's what I did, Pillissippi Parkway.
Probably so, yeah. And then you can take a ramp there and you can come back into Carnes. You either go one way and you go into Oak Ridge, you go the other way and you go into Carnes.
So what brought you to Cleveland, Tennessee, of all places?
A girl. Yep, sure enough. So
where'd you meet her?
Over Facebook through a mutual group with an interest in photography.
Uh-huh.
I was just hanging out, minding my business, working for a buddy of mine. They own 10 or 12 locations that sell storage buildings. They still do. I had joined up a photography group or something, trying to meet new people or rub shoulders with people, and got a message one day from this girl, said, "Hey, we're going out to shoot. Would you like to come?" And I went with her, and she was in her last year at UT, getting ready to finish her degree. And, several months goes by. We started taking ourselves seriously, started dating. She finished her degree, and she works in poultry. There's no poultry life around Knoxville. So she's originally from Tullahoma, went to school in Knoxville, found middle ground here in Cleveland in the poultry industry. So we're about an hour and a half from my home and an hour and a half from her home. So we're kind of smack dab in the center. So Cleveland works out pretty good in that respect.
So that's how you strategically, it was good for her job and it worked for y'all. So you said this is a good place?
Yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it. That's how I ended up Cleveland. So like I said, been here since 2017.
It's a great place to live, isn't it?
I think it's great. I've made the post on Facebook pertinent to city-related topics for somewhere between 2 and 3 years now, and I read just about every comment that gets left on my post. And if I let the negative comments affect me, I'd think this place was awful.
I don't know, and I get some sometimes too, but I've learned to ignore them because,
You have to.
I wonder sometimes if it's real people because I don't recognize some of the names.
Well,
I mean, they're not even last names from Cleveland.
Yeah. Now, there's probably some fake accounts out there for sure, but most of the posts that I've made, I share into the local groups, what's happening in Cleveland, word of mouth Cleveland, the Cleveland, Tennessee news gatherings and happenings. That's a mouthful for that one. I don't know if I got that right or not, but so I know most of the people that are following my page and comment on my post are actually here in Cleveland. There's a lot of people who have been here in Cleveland for 30 years and they hate to see it change. There's people who came here 3 or 4 years ago from out west and they love it. And just what you realize is on the internet, is there's just, you kind of get to see all walks of life if you can excuse the way comments are written. So it's really hyper exposed me to all the different perspectives that exist. But as a truck driver, somebody who's been out basically all over the eastern side of the United States, from Connecticut to Florida, Arkansas, Texas, you name it, you kind of see how big the world is, and you realize just how busy of a road I-75 is. And Cleveland sits right off I-75.
Oh, yeah.
So I've had a habit of saying, if you want to live somewhere that's not going to grow, you better be at least 30 miles from the interstate.
Better go to Etowah.
Pretty much.
Somewhere that's hard to get to off the interstate.
But Athens is growing like a weed too.
But they're a little bit still off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're a little bit still.
Well, there's not the big attractions there like there would be in Chattanooga or Atlanta. But, Cleveland's seeing growth because logistically it's in a very interesting place. It's an hour and a half from Knoxville. It's 2 hours from Atlanta.
About 9 hours from anything major.
Cleveland.
You think about 9 hours will get you pretty well everywhere except out west.
Yeah. So Atlanta, Nashville,
Florida,
Knoxville.
you can go way down in Florida in 9 hours.
Birmingham, if you want go to Birmingham, Louisville, Kentucky, it's in close proximity to a lot of places. But yet at the same time, it's kind of separated from being right in smack dab of Chattanooga or Atlanta or Knoxville. So it's for somebody looking, and I can see it, for somebody looking to move from, California or Oregon or something, they want to leave the dense cities, but they don't want to be completely remote. Cleveland makes a lot of sense.
Now, when I look at stuff on Facebook or even YouTube, I'm not even a commenter. That's not what I do.
You're just observationist.
I don't even hit like. I just looking at it.
Sure.
And I'll get some episodes on here that'll be watched tons, and they won't hit like or they won't even comment. But I know they like it because they're watching it.
Sure.
When you put it on what's happening, does it start a different view count? I never have figured that out. I think like if you have
like if it's separate from where it was posted originally.
Yeah, I think it may do a different count. So you may have 1,000 views, but if you put it on those 3 sites, it may look like you just got 300 on what's happening. I think.
I don't know, because when I look at my insights for my page, it groups everything together for me. It'll show the total impact.
That's the way mine is, but but it'll be larger than what like if you share one, it may get 50 views, but the original you can go back and look and it'll have 2,000 views.
Yeah.
So it's sort of misleading, isn't it?
I guess that it may be trying to give you some separation so it can show how many people have clicked on it or watched it within the group.
I'd rather people see my totals, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it would make sense that way.
It would make sense to me. I noticed a lot of people watch my show that lived in Cleveland but don't no longer live in Cleveland.
Yeah.
That's ironic.
Yeah.
Because they just want to kind of keep up with stuff.
Well, I can understand that. I had a pretty good friend network in Knoxville and still do. And so I like to see what's going on up there. But at the same time, if I spend too much energy or focus on what's going on in Knoxville, somewhere it's an hour and a half from here, and I don't get up there too often anymore, I miss a lot of what's going on here. And so it took me a while to accept the fact that I'm no longer in Knoxville and I'm in Cleveland now. I was born and raised up there, and that was my turf. And I ran the roads a lot as a high schooler, or out of high school. So to move here and then finally accept the fact that, hey, you're in a new community, you got to try and thrive here, that took a little while, the acceptance that you're now here.
You've become sort of a media outlet for here.
In respects, yeah, definitely. And this is a conversation I was having with somebody else earlier today. Actually, I had lunch at Zaxby's, and somebody who follows my page realized I was in there and, wanted to shake hands and talk a little bit.
I've had that, but they never buy it.
They never buy it.
Have you ever had anybody buy anything for you while you was eating?
No.
I hadn't either.
No. You expect a free meal?
Well, maybe.
Well, it's nice to have
had somebody bring me a
buy
piece
food
of
for
cake
you.
one time.
Yeah.
But your picture's not really up there, is it? It's just on your AJ Media.
Like a photo of me?
Yeah.
There, at some point, the profile photo was a photo of me. But pretty much all of last year, I changed my photo every month to match the season. But it was just my logo. So I was keeping up with a theme.
Yeah.
August, it's hot as hell, so we'll do the blazing sun,
Right.
But no, I haven't really... probably in the last few days, I posted a few photos of myself. But for the most part, I kind of kept it not necessarily intentionally anonymous, but I was just focusing on providing the content that people want to see. I don't want to see my ugly mug. They want to see photos of Inman Street. So I'm posting that.
Do you get many views on YouTube? I don't get many views on YouTube.
I don't really post anything on YouTube. My whole community is centered around Facebook because most of the people that care about city infrastructure and projects that are going on is probably going to be the 30 plus demographic, maybe 25 demographic, and they're on Facebook.
I found that most people under 45 are mostly on YouTube.
You think so?
I think so.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, it just depends, the type of content you're making. I skimmed through some of the videos you produce because I ain't got enough time this week to watch them all.
Sure, yeah, sure,
2 hours
yeah.
long. And I think that probably affects retention rate. If you want to sit down and watch an hour and a half or 2 hour long video, you've got to have quite a bit of time and be really dedicated to who you are and who your guest is to watch the full thing.
Well, and some people, if you like the guest or something, it's a good time. If you don't, they won't watch it.
Right.
5 minutes.
Right. Yeah, the content
Which is
has to be
okay.
engaging.
And then also they stop and start and come back later and
Sure. Pick it up where they left off situation.
I think like the one out today, it's already up to what, Gwen? Oh, probably 100 or so.
Yeah.
It just came out this morning at 9 o'clock.
Yeah. And is those 100 people, will they watch it all the way through?
Well, I don't know because it don't say. Yeah, that's what they call playthroughs.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Retention rate?
The playthroughs, which is, I think and I'm no expert, but I think that's like 95% of the video.
Sure.
But I tell you what, I've been in the building business and the rental business and the real estate business, and this one is the most hardest that does not have any directions. You just got to guess, and they're ever-changing rules.
You mean making the podcast?
No, just getting people to watch and putting it up there, and if you say the wrong thing, they'll squelch it.
Yeah.
If you if you say something.
Sure. Would shadow ban you, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
Well, I couldn't imagine, you're interviewing people that are really from this community.
They can't say certain words. It'll just be squashed.
Block it out.
Yeah.
Huh? Interesting.
But I think it is lightening up a little bit. But it doesn't matter to me. I'm just doing this. It's like you're doing your drone thing. You don't have to make a living. I don't make any money off of it.
Right. I might get, I think some people think that the city pay me for the posts that I do, and they don't. I've done all of that for free. And with what Facebook pays me for the attention for the post, it's not even gas money.
See, I don't even do that.
No?
Too much red tape.
Yeah.
You got to fill out those forms and.
I don't think it was too complicated for me for Facebook. Just give them my social security number, let them know where to put the money, But I think the most I've gotten out of a month is like $20. So again, it's not even gas money, but I just knew that.
What do they do? They get to run an ad on your thing?
No, they're paying me because my posts are keeping people on the platform. My post is making somebody come back 10 times because they want to read the comments again to see what people have said. Because when I was making posts about Inman Street, whether I wanted it to or not, it gets people fired up. That road went from a 4-lane road to a 2-lane road, and there were a whole lot of people that believed that was going to ruin Inman Street. Mm-hmm. I don't believe it's ruined Inman Street at all. There is a greater picture here, but you've got to be invested in going out and doing the research to figure out what that greater picture is. Mm-hmm. Because if they start that project on 3rd Street, where they're talking about building a new bridge and the roundabout, Inman Street won't matter anymore at all for pass-through. Right. And that's what they want. But it's going to be a while before that project starts. But, one of the arguments I had made quite a few times with Inman Street is, and I used to use Inman Street to commute when I drove the dump truck. If you cross Inman Street, no matter what time, what you realize is whichever way you're going, you got 2 lanes to be in. If you're going all the way across, you should be in the left lane if you're going, because you're trying to get all the way through. Yeah. The right lane was already effectively functioning as a turn lane because so many people turn off down the side roads that it just would behoove you to be in the inside lane. Yeah. So when they come through there and said, we're going to make the sidewalks wider for pedestrian traffic, and to stimulate business and people exploring downtown and put in dedicated turn lanes, that's going to be wonderful. And it's going to make it safer because now I can't testify to it, but there's plenty of, business owners throughout the time of me making Emmett Street posts saying, I can't tell you how many times there's an accident at this intersection specifically every week because somebody's not paying attention. So
the stuff you put up, you'll get lots of comments.
it really depends, Something I post, I might think this one's going to do good. This one will get some attention. It goes ghost town. And then I post something else, put half the amount of effort into it, and it goes crazy.
See, I'll get sometimes 23, 24,000 views a week. Maybe 26.
That's across all the videos that have been posted. Is that Facebook or YouTube?
Total.
Total.
And so a general episode will get 22,000, 21,000
Sure.
in the first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So that ought to be something, shouldn't it?
I mean, that's good view counts, but ideally you want to see that across every video.
Well, they will average 17,000.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, I think what you do here is a great podcast because this is a community-focused podcast. But it's a difference between interviewing people or talking with people that are just here in a small community versus if you had Mariah Carey come storming through the door and sit down and talk with her. Everybody would click on that.
Yeah.
But when I look and I say, and you say, we sit down with Aaron Jarnigan, nobody really knows who I am. So maybe it gets 100 clicks because somebody's just curious, or maybe it gets nothing at all.
I think that I get views from people that just kind of want to have it in the background.
Sure.
Just kind of playing.
Yeah.
And if they know the person, they'll watch a little more intent.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting a different audience. I don't think I'm getting the audience that's dogmatic about progress in Cleveland.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting the person that's going to drink a cup of coffee and have it playing while they do their other thing.
Sure. Well, I think, people, when it comes to consuming content on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, these algorithms, they tailor to you. Some people want to watch videos all day of dump trucks backing up and dumping a load. Some people want to watch a tree get cut down, Your episodes are very broad. It's not like your podcast is focused on just business owners.
Right.
It'd be easier for people, I think, to click subscribe if they knew you were just talking to business owners. But you talk to anyone who you find interesting.
And we've got 13,000 followers.
Yeah, on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that. But that's a healthy number.
Yeah, it seems to be pretty good. I think, but I don't know. And I don't know where it can go. I do know this. 3 years ago, I was averaging 3,000 an episode. Now I'm averaging, within 2 months, about everybody will get 20,000 views.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So it's, who knows? But I enjoy it. It doesn't take any time. I didn't do any preparation. You was here, how many minutes were you here before you sit down?
Oh, yeah, 3.
3. If it takes much more than that, I'm not interested.
Sure.
It'd be too much work for me.
Well, like you said, authenticity is a very good thing. That's what people want. I just think people, when they're on Facebook or social media in general, they want to be entertained by a certain topic because everybody's got their own thing.
Yeah.
So, unless in the title it says, today we sit down and talk to AJ Media about what's going on in Cleveland. Instead it says, today we sit down and talk to Aaron Jarnigan.
Yeah, they don't know who he is. But see, but if I did that, then I would have to take out more room in the ad, in the few words I've got.
Sure.
And I couldn't describe what you do in that short length of time.
Right.
And I'm really more interested. The least I'm interested in is what you do. I'm just wanting to shoot the bull.
Yeah.
So I really don't care what the main thing is.
Sure. Well, I think if that's your take, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. It's just going to make it more challenging to grow that audience because you're not necessarily giving someone something specific.
There's nothing, and it wouldn't matter. It's. I'm not going to do that anyway because we have just so many. Now, if we lived in a real big town, probably you could get some different people here that were famous in their own right, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you this. Somebody that's least famous will be watched more on my thing.
You think so?
Oh yeah, because
maybe that's just curiosity stepping in, you know.
I think it's just I can't figure it out. But I've had some people on here that you think, boy, they're people really are they going to watch that? They don't watch it. And I have one on here, and I'll say, man, that wasn't that great. And they'll watch it like crazy. So I don't know that anybody's figured all this out.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Did you say when you came in, I offered you some coffee. Did you say you quit coffee?
I did. I sure did. So I've got friends in Knoxville that started their own metal company up there, metal manufacturing. And they used to be employees of another company here in town. When the storm come through and hit North Carolina, they started shipping water over there to them on one of their flatbed trailers, 9, 10, 12 skids. Maybe they sent 36 by the time it was over. But I volunteered because I had a CDL. I said, I'll volunteer and I'll take that load over there at no charge to you. You just put me on your insurance and I'll run it out there. So that's what I did. So in order to be in Knoxville early enough to get the load out there, I was up so early that I couldn't stop and get my cup of coffee. So I said, okay, I'm just going to hit the road and go. Well, by 12 o'clock that afternoon, I felt like I had the flu. I mean, I felt like I'd stood out in the road and somebody had a sledgehammer and they pounded me in the ground for 3 hours. And that irritated me really bad. I said, I'm out here trying to do something good and run this water in North Carolina. I got a long drive to make because all the road infrastructure to get in there gone.
Yeah.
So I had to go all the way up into West Virginia and drop back down and come back. So what should have been a 2 or 3 hour trip turned out to be a 8 or 9 hour trip.
Lord.
So anyways, I went without the coffee that day and felt terrible. And I said, you know what? I've been drinking this stuff out of habit anyways. I said, I went basically 3/4 of my life or more without it. And I only started drinking it when I started driving trucks because I had a lot of long nights. And I just quit. I quit cold turkey. I said, I won't drink another cup. And I haven't had another cup since then. And so 3 weeks past me quitting the caffeine, my body went through all kinds of changes. And mostly being just dead tired at 2 o'clock in the afternoon every day. Like so tired that there's no way you can humanly fight your way through it. You got to lay down. And basically, I think a lot of people think, at a basic understanding that coffee gives you energy or caffeine gives you energy. It doesn't. Caffeine just blocks your body's ability to absorb sleep hormones. And so what you do by sipping caffeine all day, and caffeine stays in your system for 10 to 12 hours a day, is you prevent your body from being able to actually absorb the sleep hormones when it's ready to go to sleep. And so when you do that for months or weeks or years on end, you're messing with your sleep cycle. And so when I come off the caffeine and removed it from my system cold turkey, my body said, hey, guess what, dude? You're really tired. And so it took me a month for my body's sleep cycle to catch up and normalize.
So now what?
I sleep like a baby. I absolutely
Were you not
sleep like a
sleeping
baby.
good but prior to that?
You sleep, but you don't get that deep quality sleep that you're really looking for. You get a little restless, a little tossy back and forth, and
The REM sleep.
the REM sleep,
REM cycle.
REM sleep.
Yeah.
You don't go into it when you should. You don't stay in it as long as you should. And so I think, caffeine is just such a normal part of life these days. I mean, Cleveland's got somewhere between 20 and 25 coffee shops alone. And it's a relatively small city still.
Yeah.
And so people are just kicking it back all day. And I had 1 cup in the morning. That was it. I was never all throughout the day or anything. But if you drink it at 8 o'clock in the morning and it stays with you for 10 to 12 hours or longer, depending on your metabolism, it's affecting your ability to sleep. And then also it makes you anxious, makes your anxiety up, makes you stiffer. you know, more easily irritable and stuff. And so ever since I've come off the caffeine, I've been a lot more level. You know, somebody cut me off in traffic prior, you know,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
you know, come off the
Yeah.
caffeine, whatever, you know, you're doing your thing, I'm doing mine.
So, but what would be wrong with having one 12-ounce cup of coffee in the morning?
I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with it.
I mean,
But having done the part to come off of it, I realize it's like it has effects on you that you don't quite realize until you come off of it, and you go, oh wow,
it's a diuretic.
yeah, but it dehydrates you,
Dehydrates you.
so
I
that'll
know
make you
that.
feel bad.
That'll make you feel bad.
And then you know, a lot of people are pumping it full of sugar, and refined sugar is not good for you. So really, to me, at this point, and I've kept up with the you know, accountability and not drinking caffeine or anything, I have no reason to go back.
Have you lost weight?
Yeah,
How much?
20 pounds or so from quitting all the sugar specifically, because I've not been out, you know, playing tetherball or hitting rackets or anything like that. This is just dietary from quitting refined sugar. No soda, no coffee, no smoothies, no candy bars, no carbohydrates. Like, you know, you go to Zaxby's or you go wherever and you get you a burger, they're going to dump you a pound of fries in there, and that's not good.
What'd you eat today there?
Just chicken.
Fried?
Just chicken. Yeah, fried chicken. That's it. But no carbs, no soda with it, you know. And there's people out here in the U.S., and the U.S. is known for having a terrible dietary regimen. But you have folks out here who drink a 2-liter of pop a day.
Mm-hmm.
And it might taste good going down, but when you really step back and look at, you know, the recommended consumption rates for sugar, 25 grams a day max.
It's unbelievable. They say a lot of sugar is in ragu spaghetti sauce and
Yeah.
ketchup.
Absolutely. Yeah, sauces are like sugar based.
Yeah.
Really. That's how they get that consistency out of them.
I'm not a big sweet eater.
No?
Never have been. But now I drink one of those 10-ounce Cokes at night when I eat supper.
Yeah.
And that helps my stomach. I can feel it calming my stomach down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really can. It just a little 10-ounce can of Coke with my food. It just
And that little Coke's probably got your maximum recommended
Probably
sugar
about
for the day.
5.
But you bike. So
Yeah.
with you biking, you're burning a lot of that off anyways. But if you work an office job or you sit at the chair 8 hours and then when you go home you don't exercise, but you drink half a 2-liter or you drink another Coke from the one you had at lunch, you're over 10 times the amount of sugar that you should have in a day.
if you exercise, you can about eat whatever you want.
Agreed.
You can just about eat whatever you want.
Agreed.
And if you try to get better at it, you'll watch what you eat so you can get better at it.
Yeah.
But I feel best when I'm just eating red meat.
Yeah.
Just red meat, pretty much, maybe a few vegetables,
Yeah.
maybe a baked potato.
Sure.
I feel good.
Well, I think a lot of it, you know, and again, I've said, like, if it comes from the earth, it's probably all right for you. But, you know, we've got a lot of processed foods and stuff on the shelves at the grocery store. And, you know, folks, they go out for lunch and they grab their McDonald's and they get their big double Whopper and their big 44-ounce Coke. And
I'm in a coma an hour later.
yeah,
My system can't handle it no more.
yeah. But some folks, that's every night, you know.
I think you can build up a tolerance for that. When I was growing up, I mean, I could eat pizza for breakfast. Didn't even have to be warm.
Yeah.
Just eat
Yeah.
it. But I can't eat French fries anymore.
No?
No, not like I could. I think there's something in there they didn't used to put in them. I don't know what it is.
I don't
haven't
know. I
figured
don't
it
know if
out.
I've ever had French fries make me sick or anything, but just in general, I think if specifically if you are kind of lethargic or you got an office job and you're not deliberate about exercise and riding bikes or playing pickleball, then avoiding sugar is in your best interest in all forms. You know, if you get 5 grams out of your baked potato, then so what? But just constantly filling your system up with refined sugar because you wanted that Mountain Dew.
You know what
Not a
I've
good
got
trade.
in my front of my car? I've got a box of Pop-Tarts.
Yep. I think they're chock full of sugar.
And I've got it there to remind me not to stop and get something sweet because it'll make me sick.
Yeah.
So in other words, I don't have to stop. I've already got it, and I'm already not eating
it. If you really want it, it's right there.
It's there.
Yeah.
It's there. It's not like I'm
smart.
denying myself.
Right.
I could, but I'm not going to. It makes me sick. But if you eat something that's homemade, that's got some sugar in it, I don't think that bothers you as much as these, what do they call them? Complex carbs.
Complex carbs, yeah.
Complex carbs versus
Refined
simple
sugar.
carbs. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, complex carbs are supposed to break down in your system slowly. Mm-hmm. Versus refined sugar hits your system immediately and causes a glucose spike, which actually, and that's the thing about intense amounts of sugars, is it causes a glucose spike, and when that happens, because it's too much energy for your body, it immediately starts converting it to fat. That's what it does.
Glycogen levels, I think they call it.
Yeah.
Affects your glycogen levels.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you something else that's been really interesting. Since I've cut the sugar, prior to cutting the sugar, I was a human being that was never hungry anytime. Like, I can eat because I know I need to eat to survive. Mm-hmm. But as far as just feeling that hunger, like I've got to have something, non-existent. Cut the sugar out, stomach growls in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening, every single day. Because I'm not loading up on refined sugar, which is a fast-burning source of fuel. Mm-hmm. And it's making my body burn this fat off.
They say some foods raise your blood pressure, and you feel as if that's sort of a high, and then you seek that feeling again.
Interesting.
To raise your, like sauces at Mexican restaurants, they'll raise your blood pressure.
Yeah.
And that's what you feel when you eat these spicy foods, and so you get addicted to that feeling. More so than the taste. Your brain is associating it with the taste. Isn't it funny what our brain can associate with?
Absolutely.
You have any songs that you just can't listen to?
I don't know. Not anything that comes right to mind, something that's just completely unbearable. When I was in high school at Carnes, to get us to donate for, I forget what it was for, they were trying to get us to donate, and they would play Kids Bop over the intercom system until they reached the goal every time. Now that got a little rough.
That's a good idea, isn't
That's
it?
what they did.
Boy, that's genius.
Yeah.
What's Kids Pop?
Or Kids Bop, just a
song that drove you crazy or something?
Too happy, too bouncy, it's like, I'm trying to have a normal day here. What is this coming in my ears?
Somebody give them $5 to shut this thing up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what they did.
So if you heard that song today, it'd be a bad association.
I wouldn't be fond of it, but I wouldn't, throw a table over on the side.
But I think eating things give us I think our brains can want some, that's why they call them comfort food.
Yeah.
They make us feel comfortable.
I think some people got it worse than others too, I've been fortunate, or I'm a fortunate person, I think, in a sense that if I say I'm going to quit doing something when it comes to diet, I'll just quit it. For me to sit here and say I quit coffee, there's somebody out there that might watch this and go, there's no chance.
Some people drink that Postum. You ever know some people that drink Postum? Yeah.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, they drink Postum. That's what a lot of the Seventh-day Adventists drink. Instead of drinking coffee, they drink Postum.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never heard. What is that?
It's a coffee substitute that they used to drink.
Okay.
You ever watch Gunsmoke?
I'm familiar with the title. I don't think I've ever watched it.
Well, you are young.
Yeah. I can guarantee you my mom has watched it probably 1,000 times.
Well,
it's a Western?
It's a Western, yeah. Matt Dillon.
I recognize the name of it. I know it. It's impossible not to recognize a movie like that.
Well, sometimes in those scenes he'd be out at a isolated place, and he'd say, "Do you have any coffee?" And they'll say, "No, but we got some chicory."
Yeah.
Chicory was something the poor people drank as a coffee substitute.
How about that?
So you might want to try chicory or Postum.
I won't. I have no desire for it.
You got to do something.
I don't. Occasionally. I'll go through Taco Bell's drive-thru and I'll get a small Baja Blast. I'll take 3 sips of it and pour the rest of it out.
That's got that high fructose
Yeah.
corn syrup.
Oh, you and when you redact from drinking that stuff,
You can't. It's
when you
nasty.
drink it again, you're like,
Yeah.
"Phew, this got some power, you know." And after you pull out from that stuff, and I'll tell you, I used to drink a whole lot of soda. Of course, I grew up as a video game kid, and we'd stay up all night and do that stuff.
Yeah.
I quit really drinking soda a while ago, and coffee became kind of my fill-in. And what I liked about coffee was that it wasn't carbonated.
Yeah.
You can hold on to a cup of coffee as long as you keep it at the right temperature almost all day. But if you don't consume that soda, within about 5 minutes, it's flat, and then I won't drink it.
I don't like a lot of carbonation either. That bloats me.
Well, it's all according to. I've told this to a lot of people here lately because this whole dietary conversation comes up with everyone I talk to. Hey, you want a piece of this cobbler? No.
You have to say why, right?
Yeah, you have to say why. So I have to explain. I say, you know, I'm holding back on the sugar. I can't do it. I have no desire for the. I guess when you get on the scale in the morning and you see the pounds coming off, makes it really easy to forget about all the stuff that's tempting. Well, what I was going to say was, I grew up in a household where I don't think we had bottled water. We always had pop on the counter.
Well, we
And
never
that was
had
it.
bottled water because it didn't. You got it from the tap, but we grew up with Cokes.
Yeah.
You drank a Coke every time you ate,
Yeah,
and one in between.
yeah.
You thought you had to have it.
Well, and I think that's the effects of marketing in a lot of ways. You know, everybody was watching TV back in the day because TV's all you had to watch, and them beautiful crafted Coca-Cola commercials will roll across the screen. You say, I've got to have one of those.
When the first Cokes came out in 6-ounce bottles,
Yeah, glass bottle.
just a 6 ounce, and that was about all you needed. That's why I drink those 10-ounce Cokes, because that's
Reminiscent.
about right. No, it's about right. You
Yeah.
just don't need much more. I drink
Yeah.
a water at night. My wife will give me a little canned Coke and a glass of water.
Well, you're disciplined in that sense.
I just don't really want any more than that.
Yeah.
And all my fat goes right here to my stomach.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's just consuming all that sugar is just not good.
I think it's just a lot of everything is just what we get used to, isn't it?
I really think a lot of what we're used to consuming on a daily basis is because they're so good at marketing it.
And they say it takes 14 days to break a habit, or 14 times to create a habit. And if you think about it, 14 times in a row is a lot. It don't seem like a lot, but it is. It's 2 Saturdays and 2 Sundays and 2 Mondays.
Yeah. Well, and I'd say on that there is an average number, and then you also take in the fact that some people's just genetically, they crave things more than others. They just got to have that. I'll say I've always ate sweets, always drink soda, just been kind of ruthless, eat and consume whatever I want. And get a little older, I look in the mirror and I go, I got to get this off of me. I'm only getting older. I'm not getting any younger. I'd like to take care of what I got because this is the only one that I do get. And so it's been really easy for me to kick that stuff out. It kind of makes you wish more people would come to the light in that respect.
Staying hydrated is a big thing. In the mornings, I drink a bottle of water and I put about a half a lemon in there, organic lemon, and I put some of those shaved, what's that called? Mints in the water.
Yeah.
And just carry it with me all day. And if I get another bottle of water, I'll pour it in there and shake it up.
Yeah.
Boy, that's good. It's about as good as a Coke.
I find that we've got these little, tear the top off lemon packets. They don't have caffeine in them or anything, but they give the water flavor. Makes it infinitely more drinkable. When you just want something that's got a little flavor, but you don't want something loaded up with sugar.
And I think now if you get a lemon from a restaurant, they're not the same as organic lemon. They don't have the citric acid like an organic lemon. And that citric acid will sort of mimic carbonation. It'll make you feel like you're
That kind of that sharp flavor.
it'll give you a sharp. And if you add the mint to it, then it's really good.
Interesting. I've never considered adding mint to it. I'm happy with the lemon water.
Just a leaf, a little bit too big to come out every time you drink it.
Yeah. Interesting. I wanted to give that a shot. Because, I mean, that's what I predominantly drink is water. And if I want something with flavor, I'll dump a little lemon in it. Mm-hmm. Go to Sam's Club, they sell what they call Karma water, Karma. Mm-hmm. It's probiotic waters. It's got a little bit of sugar it's got in it, maybe 5 grams, plus organisms are stored in the lid. And you pop that lid and it drops them into the water and mixes it up. And you can drink that. And it's kind of like a...
I believe that might...
That might be, it might be market gimmick, but it tastes good.
It works, doesn't it?
Yeah. It tastes fine, and I feel, compared to drinking a Coke, I could drink 25 of those waters and still not be at that level of sugar. Because, like I said, 25 grams is what they say on average per day a person should have for sugar. A 16-ounce Coke's got 67 grams, I think, and a Mountain Dew's got almost 80.
A Coke's got, 10 tablespoons of sugar, I think?
It's too much for me.
It's a lot.
Now that I have it, my grandmother was a Coke a day person, still is. Mm-hmm. She, I was over there at her house just a few weeks ago. Oh God, almost 90. Coke, gotta have the Coke, baby. You want a Coke? And I say, no, ma'am, I'll thank you for offering. You sure you don't want a Coke? And I say, no, I've given up on that stuff. You take a little sip of it to appease her. Yeah. And it's like drinking vodka at that point.
Your system's not used to it.
Yeah.
Do you think advertising? How do you think it can affect so much? I mean, there's real science behind that, isn't there?
There absolutely is.
I mean, there's real science behind. And now they're doing it with more, instead of advertising, it's almost more manipulation in a weird way. In
the sense that they've figured out all these systems?
Well, instead of just saying, have a Coke and a smile,
yeah,
which is was a big thing, they get this star to drink a Coke.
Yeah.
So it's a little different than it used to be when I was growing up. It was all about the saying and sort of reframing what this product can do for you and how to benefit you. Yeah. Now they're doing stuff to make you want to be like that person.
Yeah. Kind of making it relatable to whoever you're... I've never idolized any celebrity, so that wouldn't work on me.
Who would you idolize?
Who would I idolize? Like as a celebrity?
As a person.
Just anybody as a person? Man, I feel like I've got some friends that I would idolize. Just anybody who believes in giving everything they've got to make themselves better and make their friends better and help them grow. I think that's somebody that's worth idolizing. Somebody who's genuinely committed to just being a good human being. Not out to pull the shirt over somebody's head. Not out to reach in your car when you left the window down. Someone who's just, give you the shirt off their back.
What was the famous saying? You can tell a person by how he treats people that can do nothing for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's the saying.
Yeah.
Like a waitress. And that's not even, because she can bring you, something else to drink or something. But
sure.
But I mean, people that cannot benefit you in any way, and you're still
good to them.
Well, just cordial and respectable, and
Yeah. Well, when you push all the societal standards to the side and really work on your mindset, you realize that whether you got somebody standing on the corner asking for $1 or you got a millionaire staring in your face, we're all human beings,
They both want your money.
or whatever, if they want your money or want your attention. We're all just human beings, and everybody's got a story. And some stories are better than others. Some are worse. Mm-hmm. Some need a little work.
Some haven't happened yet?
Yeah, some haven't happened yet. So, I mean, Yeah, I think somebody that's, you know, just relentlessly good to their neighbor is somebody that's worth idolizing. You know, do I think Will Smith's cool? Sure. But I'm not going to idolize him. I'm never going to meet that guy or shake his hand or anything.
He don't
like
even
that.
know who you are.
He don't know who I am. He don't know we're sitting here. I'm sitting here with Dee Burris.
Yeah.
You know?
He'd be jealous.
Yeah, so, you know, somebody within the community that's worth idolizing. You got anybody? Who do you think just an outstanding citizen?
Oh, I've got so many I couldn't even number.
Well, let's get started.
And some of them are good in some areas and not in others. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, no one's perfect.
Everybody's got their own talents.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think that you don't have any other hobbies, just droning and driving?
I mean, sure, I've got hobbies to play video games and whatnot, but when you're trying to survive as a small entrepreneur in a small community, I really don't have time to hobby too much. I've really just been trying to focus on building the name and the brand awareness around AJ Media. I'm not trying to get rich from doing this. More than anything, I just want to control my schedule. If I want to take a Tuesday off and go kick the can at the park or something, then that's what I want to do. You know, and just enough money to get by and pay the bills and be comfortable.
The 30s are your warrior years.
Absolutely.
Is what the
I
old
wish I
timers
wouldn't
used
have
to say.
wasted my 20s chasing after the wrong things, you know?
Well, the 20s is I forget what the Chinese have a saying for it. The 20s is something, the 30s is your warriors, and something like that.
What is it? Whatever the saying is, me and a buddy of mine who are basically the same age was having a conversation like this recently, and I'm 33, I'll be 34 at the end of this month. My 20s was like wasting time, experiencing the world for the first time at my own leisure, doing what I wanted to do without having to necessarily abide by the rules or regulation of mom or dad or teachers or whatever. And so you're just kind of out experiencing, you eating dinner and hanging out with your buddies, and maybe you drink a little bit, or maybe you go to the racetrack. Once that flood is kind of over, you go, okay, now what? And you have to crack down. But I think that still varies for so many people. You know, some come out of high school, go right to college, they're a doctor 10 years later, and that's their life, and they've got it perfectly scoped out. Whereas you've got folks who are in their 60s still wondering.
And some people your age have already got 10 years in the military,
Absolutely.
They could retire.
Absolutely.
Or whatever, that quit with a pension or whatever that is.
There are many paths a man can walk in this world, isn't there?
A bunch of them.
Yeah.
You ever wonder if you're even controlling it?
Are you going to go down the black hole? I do in some respect just think, hey, you know, we're all stuck on this big rock trying to figure out what we're going to do. And some of us figure it out faster, and some of us might not figure it out at all.
You ever seen that guy on YouTube, that guy that, Sanjay Gupta or something like that? He does...
The prophet.
Well, it's sort of satire or whatever. It's really funny.
What's he talking
He
about?
says the opposite of what we've been taught.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really funny. He'll say, I forget what it was, but it's really funny to the point you think maybe he's right. Maybe all this doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What does it matter?
Well, I mean, it's all about shaping your perspective on the world, you know. And I think some people walk a really nice path and they get a perspective that's shaped up really nicely. And then some people, they get experiences that they didn't have control over, and it kind of turns them bitter maybe, or gives them an edge toward the world, and they go on the rest of their life just mad or bitter or upset when things didn't go to plan. But you gotta take a hold of things, you know. You are the one that's in control of your life.
What else are you seeing? You got any upcoming projects that you'd like to, like maybe the woolen mill or?
No, I mean, I've got a video that I'm shooting this Saturday, but that's going to be in Rome, Georgia. And that's not one I can really talk about because it's health related. It's for an attorney who's in a malpractice claim case. But not a very good situation for his client. So I'm going to go down there and film that. But as far as Cleveland's concerned, I try to follow as the wind blows, but, Inman Street's done now, so I can't really do anything there. Georgetown Road's just about done now. They've really, in the last month probably, I think they've just been kind of going and tying in all the driveways that they messed up during the expansion. And I'd say once they finish all those driveway tie-ins, they'll start paving it. Outside of that, they're putting up the pickleball fields at Tinsley Park. They're probably getting close to being done on that. I just heard that they're getting ready to start paving Paul Huff Parkway, which is something a lot of people have asked about. There's equipment sitting right off the exit as of right now, milling machine and a couple other tools. So
have you heard anything on that property on the hill that you did the episode on where the two, Joe Palmer, is that his name?
Joe Palmer, yeah.
Joe
He owns
Palmer.
McKinley Excavating.
Yep.
Yeah, sure does. And they own it under a different company name.
He's a nice guy. Did you meet him?
Yeah, I've met him. He's a nice guy. Got a lot of charisma, a lot of character to him.
Yeah.
So they're prepping that property. Now, I don't know what it's going to be, but I did photos at the Harry's Grand Opening off exit 33
I saw
at that big
that,
truck
yeah.
stop. And I talked to one of the ladies from the Chamber of Commerce, and she wouldn't tell me what it was, but she said that a building permit, I guess, had been applied for or been issued for that property.
For which property?
The one that's across from the Longhorn Steakhouse on Paul Huff. She said there's a permit issued for that. And she said there was a database where I could go online and look it up. And I looked for it and I could not find it.
He didn't indicate anything like that to me, did you, when you was talking to him?
No, I haven't talked to him about that property. I just know him from driving a dump truck because we hauled some soil and stuff for him at one point for his company.
I don't believe he's got anybody looking. I don't believe he's got any building permits.
Other than that, there's been a lot of requests for Trader Joe's in Cleveland. Trader Joe's. And Bridge Property Management Group has put in a proposal to bring Trader Joe's here.
Where would they go? How many acres they need?
I have no idea. Their stores aren't the size of Walmart or anything like that. They're smaller, little tailored selections. But they're not even the size of Target, I don't think. But they probably need 20, 30 acres, I guess. Maybe not even that much.
You think they need that much?
Maybe
2 or
not.
3 acres or 20 or 30?
Maybe not that much. That just depends on what they do, There's a lot of these, I guess I would say a lot of these building companies, they might propose to put a Trader Joe's in there, but if they've got extra property, they'll put a strip
Are you talking
mall
about a strip plaza? So Trader Joe's, does they usually stand alone?
Yeah, standalone. There's kind of a...
I'd say they could go with 4 acres,
Think so?
maybe.
I mean, I don't know if Bridge Property Management Group, if they own property that they're proposing to Trader Joe's, or what their proposal details are exactly. But they did it, or somebody had made a post requesting that, like, Cleveland residents go to their website and put in a request to say, bring Trader Joe's here. Because, as you know, like, if you were a Trader Joe's customer, you got to drive 35, 40 minutes. And let's say it's Friday night and you want to run to Trader Joe's, that's the worst time to drive to Chattanooga.
Yeah, you just forget it.
Just forget it. So, I think Cleveland's worthy of a Trader Joe's. I think they would do well. There's a lot of people here that want it. There's a lot of people here who don't want Cleveland to grow at all.
Nope.
They want it to be a small country town. But I think it's already surpassed that.
That ship's already sailed.
Yeah. Yeah, I
We're
believe it has.
the minority. The people that have been here our whole life, we're the minority,
Yeah.
I think.
Well, there's people born here, people come here 3 or 4 decades ago. They're used to small town Cleveland. But if 30, 40 years ago you had looked out 30, 40 years, you might have said, well, we're right off I-75. We better get ready for it because it's coming. And I think they're estimating Cleveland, the city-county boundaries are going to double within 10 to 20 years. Like Eureka Road is county right now. That will eventually be city.
Yep.
And with the work they're doing on Georgetown Road, there's going to be more development to come out there. And they could somebody could come in and make an unrealistic offer to Green Acres. There's a lot of property right there.
I think that may be in the works of somebody. I had somebody call me about it the other day.
Yeah.
And but some of it's in the flood.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there's still, there's that
Well,
land.
that'll be a big piece, though, won't it?
That's a huge piece of property
That'll
right there.
change a lot of things right there.
That's as big, if bigger than the property they're clearing right now on Free Rail Road for that housing development. That's a big old piece of property. I don't know how many acres it is.
It boggles my brain.
Yeah.
It's hard to wrap my arms around it, to be honest with you.
That piece of land?
I mean, all the houses going in and everything.
Yeah. Well, I think, whether you like the information or not, Tennessee is one of 2 states east of the Mississippi that does not have a state income tax. And so when you're talking about selling your house out in California, it's 1,500 square foot and worth 1.5, and you can go to Tennessee and buy the same thing for 5.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming. They're coming quick.
Yeah, if California doesn't change that stuff, they'll just keep coming as soon as they can afford it, as soon as they can sell it.
Yeah.
They said that with that, have you heard with the all the fires that they'd only issued 34 building permits for all of those fires that burned all those houses?
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
I didn't look into any of that because it's just chaotic politics, of course, but I had seen a post from, what's that guy's name? He's a real estate investor. He's kind of famous. He's not kind of famous. He is famous. He's known for money management and education and stuff. He had a big property out there that was worth $30 or $40 million, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that he wouldn't be able to rebuild it for 4 or 5 years or something. It brought the value down on it by $10 million. Said he'd still have to keep paying taxes on it. And say pay taxes on a $30 million piece of property that you can't do nothing with for the next 5 years.
And what's going to happen is these big national banks are going to have mortgages on those.
Yeah.
And they're going to squeeze the little guy to pay his loan off so they can fund those.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always a numbers game.
Follow the money, right?
Follow the money. Absolutely. Down to the last penny. And a bank is set up to make money. If they weren't, they wouldn't be doing it if they weren't. They'd be doing something else.
They're the ones, they borrow more than we do.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with borrowing.
Yeah. Well, they've mastered making money on their money.
Yeah.
If the little guy could master making money on his money and quit giving in to temptation and buying all the new stuff, there'd be a lot more wealthy people walking around.
Yeah, or loan it out yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why not?
Absolutely.
Free country.
You figure out how to make money on your money, And I did a real estate job for a lady one day. Well, actually, I did a real estate job at a house that had been foreclosed on, and the lady next door came out to talk to me while I was there. And she made an interesting comment to me, and I hadn't forgot about it. And she said, most of the people walking around out here couldn't afford to go get a set of tires if they needed them today. And I said, well, that's a powerful statement for it to be so simple as it is. I said, so a lot of people aren't good at saving money, or they're not making enough money to save money.
I think that people are just putting too much money in their house.
Yeah.
Because
Well, it's 2 things that you got to have really to survive in the world. Outside of food and clothing, shelter and a car. That's the 2 big purchases.
Food, clothing, and shelter.
Yeah. And so there are some people who just, their whole 20s is just dedicated to saving money to buy a house in your 30s.
You can't save enough money to be prosperous.
It'd be hard.
You can't do it.
Truck
You
driver-
have to make it somewhere.
Yeah.
You can't say it's easier to make it than it is to save it.
Well, it's hard to try and make it while also having to spend a bunch of it to survive while you make it.
You have to make big money.
Yeah. Or you have to have no expenses, which is almost impossible.
It's easier to make money than it is to save it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's just easier.
Absolutely is.
And one thing is, if you're working, you don't have time to spend it.
Yeah.
That's a byproduct of it, I think.
I think while I was truck driving, that's what I really learned. Because when you truck driving, I didn't have an apartment, I didn't have rent or anything like that. I had a cell phone payment that the company pays for fuel. I had health insurance. I was grossing between $1,600 and $2,000 a week, and I was putting half of it or more back in savings.
Where did you sleep?
In the truck.
Boy, that'd be interesting. What's that like?
Well, I had the most interesting path because my first year I was a team driver. See,
What does that
trucking
mean?
is interesting. You know, it's kind of structured in a way where if you're a grasshopper coming into the industry, they want you to go out there and prove yourself. You've got to prove that you're worthy of being a truck driver and that you're not going to destroy a truck or run off in a ditch or something like that. So they like to give you the second-hand freight and just kind of let you go out there and mosey about and try to make some money. So when I went over the road my first year, they put me in a truck by myself after I did the training regimen and passed the test and whatnot. And my first week over the road, I made like $500. I said, that's not going to cut it. One opportunity led to another, and I realized that if I wanted to make money my first year as a green grasshopper, I was going to have to get in a team truck, and I was going to have to get on a dedicated account. And a dedicated account ensures you got freight to haul. And when you're running on a team, you're the fastest truck on the road because you got 2 drivers in it. So I got on a team account hauling freight for Toyota out of Lexington, Kentucky, and I would work basically Sunday night to Friday night or Friday morning, get in my car, drive all the way to Cleveland, be here for about 12 hours, turn around, go right back up. I did that for a year. But because I was able to get in a team truck and put all that time in the truck, I made $1,600, $2,000 a week my first year.
But you're driving with somebody?
Driving with somebody.
So you're sitting there driving, and you got your buddy with you, or is
Got a
he
guy in
asleep?
the bed. Yeah.
What if he can't? What if he can't go to sleep?
That's a real thing. It's what I like to tell people when they ask about it is
Yeah.
it's trying to sleep in a semi truck while somebody else is driving. It's like riding a mechanical bull and expecting to get a nap. It's not very good sleep.
It wouldn't hardly be any.
That's why I started drinking coffee.
Would you just take a melatonin or something to make you go to sleep?
You try all kinds of things. You get the thickest mattress you can get a gel topper so it keeps you cool. You close the curtain back here and crank your AC all the way back down wherever you need it. Line yourself with body pillows so that way when your co-driver hits the brakes and you roll forward, you don't roll off the bed or roll in the back of the cab. Is
it just a curtain like this that's separating you?
Yeah, Velcros and buttons in the center. And it's blackout curtain, so you
What if he's playing the radio?
That's where it comes down to having a good co-driver.
It'd almost be like the equivalent to being in a cell with somebody.
It is.
You got to learn to get along with them.
So funny enough, like when I went up there my first year, I ended up meeting some of the other guys, of course, that ran on that same account, and there was about 12 trucks. 3 of those trucks were occupied by people who were family. And so you had like
husband, wife, nephew.
Husband, wife, uncle and nephew, cousin and daughter or whoever it was. And they ran with each other. And so I had got really fortunate, and I got in a truck with a guy named Anthony, greatest co-driver in the world. Wouldn't run the radio, wouldn't run the jake brake while you're sleeping. Because you're on a jake brake while you're sleeping, and that thing, and your bobtail per se, and it's on stage 3. When that jake brake hits, you'll come flying out of the bed. And so there's actually a net in the sleeper that you can buckle down in case that situation happens. Yeah. But definitely it's such an interesting dynamic because you are in that truck with that guy for 60 to 70 hours a week. So it becomes really important to have somebody you like. So I had met with Anthony and ran with him for a few months, and then his nephew came on. And I got kicked out of the truck in favor of him. They said, no offense to you, but I'm going to put my nephew in the truck with me because we're family. And so once that happened, everything just felt like it spiraled because they'd send me this guy and that guy and this guy and that guy. And this guy, I'll just be honest with you. I never was one who would pee in bottles. Not my thing. I just pull over in the shoulder lane if I had to go bad enough and just do my business or whatever. But I had one guy who liked to keep a gallon milk jug. Not one with a screw-on cap, with a pop-off cap. And he had this thing full, or near full. Mm-hmm. And he had it crammed down in the cabinet underneath where our clothes would hang. And underneath that cabinet was the blower for the sleeper. He's driving one night, and he was terrible. It wasn't very smooth or fluid with it. Turned that bottle over, and the cap popped off.
Golly.
And guess where it went? Right in that blower motor. I woke up, my nose was burning like I was in the California fires. Mm-hmm. They wanted to send the truck to detail. The dispatchers did, the company. I said, absolutely not. You send me a brand new truck. Just send me a new truck. I will not deal with this truck because I guess, I don't know. That urine had been in that bottle
I'd
for
smell
long
it even
enough.
if it wasn't there after that, wouldn't you?
It was terrible. It was terrible. But yeah, team driving, it's a whole lifestyle. It teaches you a whole lot. I basically worked all week long for a year straight and virtually had no time to myself. And when you do that, it teaches you a whole lot about how easy a 40-hour work week is. How easy it is to be at home in your bed every night.
Yeah, you got to stop and eat when they want it. What'd you do? Say, okay, all right, we'll stop and eat here. You have to stop it. You have to stop 3 times, don't you?
Well, there's a series of clocks that run when you're driving. You got a 14-hour clock, which is the maximum amount of hours that you can be on duty as a worker for that day. Then you got an 11-hour clock. That clock is the maximum amount of time that you can be driving the truck that day. Let's say 11 and 14, the other 3 hours you spent sitting on the dock waiting to get loaded or unloaded. But 11 hours is the maximum time that you can have that truck moving. Then you've got an 8-hour clock. When you start your work day, you can drive for a maximum of 8 hours before you have to take a break.
So you don't stop. You don't stop for lunch during that 8 hours. That wouldn't make sense,
Well,
right?
when I was running at Toyota, we ran what they call JIT freight, which is just in time. It's scheduled very tight. We had a week bid at a time. We knew exactly where we had to be, at what time we had to be there, and what time it had to be dropped off. And if it wasn't there when it needed to be dropped off, look for another job. It was very crucial because if you stop the production line at Toyota, it's like $10,000 a minute or something like that of lost expense.
Yeah. My wife would go broke.
It's it's a mess. It's a really interesting lifestyle, It taught me a lot about what work can be and what work doesn't have to be. But I give the flowers to the truck drivers in America too. Because
Well, that's a whole new thing. That's a whole other thing that we don't realize. When we're driving down the road and there's a truck in front of us or behind us, we have no idea what that guy's going through. Boy, I'd hate.
No clue.
You got to be thinking 10 miles ahead. I'm going to get off on the right shoulder and exit there.
Yeah, it makes you a really good driver when you've got 80,000 pounds underneath you all the time, and you got to deal with people who are wired up and cranky and only out to get off the exit as fast as they can. I've had some crazy stuff happen to me while I was behind the wheel of a truck, just experiencing how people drive and how anxious they can get and how angry they can get and senseless they can be. It's, I think there's a lot of people who drive out here and they don't look further ahead than 2 cars. And that's their vision sight, is right there. When you drive a semi-truck, you're 20 to 30 cars out. I'm not watching the brake lights of 1 or 2 cars in front
You're
of me.
also watching GPS, I guess, right?
Yeah.
You're going, does it say, do you leave that voice on that says merge to the right?
Well, you run it, for us, like we got on the dedicated account, we always ran the same runs. We got to the point we ran it so much. We didn't need the GPS if we didn't want it. But
Well, that'd be helpful.
You'll run it anyways, just to have it because it's a useful tool.
Well, if you're going to the Toyota place and you get stuck in a 20-minute traffic thing,
They'll excuse you for that because that's out of anyone's
it has
control.
to be documented or something.
Sure.
You can't just
call
say,
them and let them know, hey, I'm running 45 minutes behind, and it has nothing to do with me. Traffic in Cincinnati was terrible, and they say, okay. But ideally, and I imagine they don't tell you this, but I imagine they schedule their windows right to where there is some leeway in it. But when you get your paperwork, they're going to tell you run as fast and hard as you can. Okay, thank you.
What are they going to do when these Teslas, they start driving these Tesla trucks and it just takes off to there and all you're doing is riding it? I mean it's going to happen.
It'll be interesting. I mean, when as someone who's driven these trucks and driven them a lot, it blows my mind that we got enough diesel to run them all one day, yet let alone for months and years on end. Because when you stop to fill up a semi truck, you've got a 100-gallon tank or 80-gallon tank on both sides.
How long does it take to fill them up if you're getting close to empty?
Oh, to stand there and pump it?
Yeah.
Well, the diesel pumps at a truck stop are high flow, so they pump a whole lot faster than your standard gas pump. But
10 minutes?
Realistically, yeah, you fill both tanks in 10 or 15 minutes. Plus your DEF.
What's the DEF?
The diesel exhaust fluid sprayed into the exhaust to help neutralize all the carbons that come out.
It'd be a lot
It's a
easier.
good thing. It's a
It'd be a
good
lot
thing.
easier to make a living flying drones, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it sure would be. Sure would be. But, I don't regret my experience as a truck driver. It's certainly been great, been eye-opening. Like I said, taught me a lot just about workforce and how hard you can work or how hard you can't work. But it's a very stressful job.
You know what I think would be a good business? Is if you said, you're always, you send somebody an email and they don't get it or they went to their spam. And I think if a person said, I'll deliver that for you and you'll do it for sure. Or I'll go tell that person. You don't have to put it online. It's not encrypted, nothing. I'll tell them. I'll be your confidence.
Yeah.
I'll deliver the message. I'll take the package.
Yeah.
You can count on me no matter what.
Yeah. But you want to do that nationwide? You want this guy in Cleveland, Tennessee to run down to Texas for you?
If you need to, you can count on him. I think there would be a courier service.
Yeah.
Sort of a thing.
Well, that's the thing. It's free to send an email,
Yeah, but sometimes, you don't send messages like that lawsuit you was talking about. They'll subpoena every email anybody's ever said about anything.
Yeah.
It'll be a big thing. Send all the text messages. Anymore, you just can't put stuff online, no matter if you're texting somebody.
Well, I've never had a situation occur where, a document that was supposed to be hidden or not seen was found. There are definitely encrypted document services out there. But
Nobody believes them.
But I think for the most part, if you're a hacker or you're some sort of digital scammer, you're not really worried about, what Johnson's got going on down in Atlanta with his back. That's not important to you. Mm-hmm. The hackers are looking for much larger targets.
But I still think that there might be I don't know, with who would have thought Uber would have worked.
Right.
They say a lot of these young people now are not even buying cars. They're just taking Uber everywhere.
I couldn't imagine that. It's really expensive service.
Well, so are cars and insurance. But that's the new trend.
I guess if you live in a place where it's too expensive or not really that feasible to own a car, then sure.
Maybe,
New York City's had taxi cabs for decades.
Yeah, for years. Yeah. Seinfeld, remember they never had. Only Kramer had a car. Remember that on Seinfeld?
Yeah. So
you're not too young for that.
I'm totally aware of Seinfeld. I don't know that I've ever been a fluid watcher or anything of it, but living in like Cleveland, places down here in the South where it's dense, but we've got enough land and stuff that everybody can own a car. Mm-hmm. You go to New York City and the skyscrapers are, you can't slide a car between them.
Yeah. Everything's going real good, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything's rocking right along. And
what do you mean everything?
Everything's going good. Economy's good. You're doing good with your business. You're driving your truck. You got a black shirt.
I think she's navy blue, but I think good things are as good as you think they are.
You think perception's reality?
There's I can't think of this guy's name either. He did Theo Vaughn is a comedian.
Oh, I know Theo.
And I like following him because
he came down here to chat. He came down to Parksville.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a funny guy. He's a goofball guy. Mm-hmm. But he did an interview with a guy who's kind of made a name for himself in psychology and whatnot.
Do you know Theo Vaughn lives in Nashville?
Does he?
Yeah.
Well, I know I've seen clips of him at the Tennessee games and stuff. But he did an episode with a guy, and he said, like you said, perception is reality. He said, you look around the room, look for things that are brown. I said, okay. He said, when you looked around the room, did you see some things that were red that you kind of thought, well, it could be brown?
Yeah.
He said, yeah, you are what you convince yourself that you see. Mm-hmm. So, and I think I see this with the comments and stuff that are made on my posts. It's just a lot of different people have a lot of different perspectives in the world. And I think the experiences that you have in the world for sure sculpt that perspective. But it's up to, the intellectual in each and every one of us to go out and seek the information to sculpt the perspective that you want to have.
They say you have to be your own doctor, lawyer, preacher, everything. You have to do your own research.
Yeah, you got to do your own soul searching.
Anymore, it's hard to do that you don't know what to believe.
Yeah.
I can about Google anything and prove it or disprove it.
Well, you definitely,
Or maybe it's just the way I'm reading it.
We're also hyper exposed to information online because it spreads so fast. At least I guess at my age and how much I've been exposed to stuff and different information, the share button is rapid and rampant and running fast. It's just, you definitely start to take a step back and you say, when I wake up in the morning and I grab my phone and I want 10 minutes of entertainment and I'm going to scroll reels, and the first thing I see is someone with a gun in their face getting arrested, and he's screaming this and they're screaming that. It's like, do I want to see this? No, you just lock the phone and go on about your day. But there's something about human nature where we like to lock in on things that are negative.
I don't know what that is, but you're right.
Yeah.
It's harder to lock on stuff that's positive, and it's easier to lock on stuff that's negative. I don't know why that is.
I don't know. I think in general, it erupts your emotions more, and so you've got to be deliberate in just saying, you know what, I'm not going to look at that today. This has got nothing for me. What is the saying I like to say is your mental real estate is diamonds and gold. It's the most valuable thing you got between your ears. Mm-hmm. So you got to protect it. You got to protect what you feed it and what you let it believe.
If you listen to that show Forensic Files, I can really watch it. I really like to watch it, but after I've watched 2 or 3 episodes, I just get a real depressed, down feeling.
Well, you might even get paranoid that somebody's going to come knock your door.
I don't think it's healthy. I'd rather watch something fun, Andy Griffith or something. Something
wholesome.
Listen to some good music, some upbeat music.
Absolutely. And so, I think there's a lot of people that run around, they got habits they don't even realize they have because they're not necessarily in control of themselves in some respect. They're just taking it as it comes. And when you step back and you go, you know what? I'm not going to drink coffee today because I know it's not good for me. Or I'm not going to have a smoothie today because I know it's too much sugar.
And maybe you don't even have to explain it. Just don't do it. You don't owe explanations to people.
Yeah,
I mean, when you explain yourself, you're almost giving away some of your power.
Yeah.
You don't owe
Well, if somebody's prying at you, for sure. If you can just tell they're asking you questions because they're questioning why you believe that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a conversation you want to have.
Right.
Definitely. But I think when you got the right people around you who are in the right headspace and you have those intellectual conversations, a lot of things are just understood by default.
I believe you're right. When's your birthday?
May 31st.
What's your sign?
Gemini. Yeah.
2 personalities.
Do we not all have 2 personalities in some respect, That makes me think about the whole, good and evil, light and dark. It's just, I think when it comes to social media, there's a lot of dark out there. And so you've got to be deliberate to go for the light. Maybe you read the book, How Full Is Your Bucket or Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that's the information you give your attention to, not what's happening in this cop-fueled feud over here. You
know what I was listening to before Gwen came in? I was listening to Chet Baker on YouTube.
Yeah.
He plays the horns.
Yeah.
Boy, he's good. He plays that real soft.
Jazz or?
What is it jazz?
Jazz, trumpet.
Very mellow jazz. But boy, it'll.
You like it?
Oh, I love it.
Simmers you down?
Yeah, he doesn't sing. He just plays the trumpet. He does that.
Yeah.
With that, what do you call that thing, Gwen, where they've had the stopper? He does that ball in the end?
Yeah, just a mute.
A mute, yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely I like listening to instrumentation for sure. Sometimes I'm working, I'll go to YouTube and I'll just put on something like relaxing coffee jazz or something that.
Yeah.
And you just listen to that and you don't listen to any lyrics.
That's better than the news telling you how bad the tariffs are going to kill us.
Yeah. Yeah. You are, they say you are what you eat and you are what you consume.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're all what we consume, and some of us are consuming some pretty poor stuff.
Well, tonight I'm going to consume some pizza.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where from?
I think it's Marco's.
Marco's?
Yeah.
That's pretty decent.
They got some good pizza. I like Pizza Hut best.
You ever been over at Gamelli's?
Yeah, Gamelli's. And it's good pizza, but
I spun it to a local business.
I liked. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Have you done a video on them?
I haven't. No, and that's kind of where I'm at now, is trying to find people to partner with where I can help them with like monthly social media. If they don't want to deal with that, or they don't have the right person, or can't find the right person to hire to run the camera and whatnot. And I'm getting ready to sign up with the BNI group, a local networking group for business.
Yeah, business network.
Yeah. Getting ready to do that. Been to their couple free meetings.
Yeah.
And I like it.
Well, tell anybody watching how they can get a hold of you,
Yeah.
and kind of what the minimum fee you'd charge for anything.
It's so hard to put a minimum fee on it, because when it comes to photo video clients, needs are so vastly different. You got a real estate agent selling a piece of land, they just need 5 or 10 photos of it to put up instead of the Google satellite image. That might be $150. But if you want me to come into your business, set up lights, spend 4 or 5 hours, maybe more, shooting narration with you, maybe interviewing a few different people and getting B-roll of you doing the process, and then go back and spend equally as much time editing a video, depending on the complexity of it, that could be somewhere between $750 or $2,500. But as far as finding me, I think most people that have found me so far know that you can find me on Facebook. So anyone can go to Facebook and one word in the search bar, search AJ Media 423, numbers 423. That'll bring the page up. Outside of that, my website lives at firstnamelastname.com, which is aaronjarnigan.com. I'd love to have the AJ Media domain. It's about $7,500 to get it, and I'm not going to do that.
Can they just email you?
Sure. a.jarnigan@gmail.com. Just first initial dot last name @gmail.com. Or call me, which is 865-271-7218. I haven't switched my phone number to 423. I'm not sure if I'm ready to give that up yet. Too many people got that number, and I had to send it to a whole lot of people.
It don't matter anymore.
Yeah. I've considered just adding a second number, but it really makes no difference. There's so many people that live here who don't have a 423 area
Now we
code.
don't even recognize it no more.
Yeah. Just a phone number.
Well, listen, you do a good job, and you are really a smart guy, and you've got a talent for that.
I appreciate that.
And I got high hopes.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you for coming.
Very nice to meet you, yeah.